Welcome to Not Guilty, Lawyers, Guns, and Money.
Welcome back to Not Guilty, Lawyers, Guns, and Money with Edward D. Johnson III, founding attorney of Edward Johnson and Associates PC. Since 2014, Edward has earned a reputation as one of Illinois' top criminal defense attorneys, known for defending serious cases involving homicide, weapons, drugs, and DUI charges. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're breaking down what really happens during a police raid. Edward's going to cover what your rights are, how evidence is collected, and what to do when your home suddenly becomes a crime scene. Edward, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Good to see you again.
All right, well, we're getting right into some heavy stuff here. So, could you start by explaining what typically causes a police raid in the first place?
Yeah, like these police raids are serious. Whenever a police raid's triggered, it's usually from a affidavit from a sworn officer or detective that's been investigating a case. They meet privately, ex parte, with a judge, and the judge hears everything in the affidavit that the detective's telling them, right? So I'm the detective, I go and judge. Here's what we're looking for. We have an investigation going. We can get into what types of investigations, how those happen. But, normally we do this investigation. We believe that there's evidence to a crime in the house, and they'll sign off on the affidavit. And then you got a search warrant. They'll date it. It's time sensitive. So any sort of, they can't wait like 2 weeks or a month afterwards. But once that's signed, they can come over to your house and knock on the door, and you got to get out. And that's you're in a lot of trouble at that situation if there's a search warrant coming to your house. But it's not the end of the world. You just have to cooperate, and usually you'll be detained or arrested as well at the same time. It kind of depends what type of agency's doing the search warrant, who's doing it, and if it's state or local, federal. It all kind of depends. But it's a serious thing, and your house could be used as evidence against you. So you need to be aware of that.
Yeah, that. I can't even imagine what that would feel like. Are there situations where police might claim they have probable cause to enter without a search warrant?
There are so many that the police are just trying to get in your house. There's situations where, let's say you live in an apartment, they'll try to come in, have the landlord let them in to let's say it's a community unit. They'll send the officers up to your door, try to come in. You don't have to answer the door. Now they have a search warrant, it's a little different, but these situations where you have the police just coming, knocking, and trying to get in, you don't have to talk to them. It's really a unique situation where people feel like, well, I didn't do anything wrong, I'm going to talk to the police. That's not what you want to do here.
Yeah. I think we've talked about that on other podcasts. Like one of the mistakes people make is just talking too much and then getting themselves into a deeper hole.
They do. And it's dangerous. There's other situations too where these search warrants or lack of search warrants, the police will show up. Let's say you're staying at a motel or a hotel, and the court has came back down and said that the police have to get a search warrant. They can't just talk to the front desk, get a key, come into your place. They need a warrant. You can ask for a warrant. They come to the door. No warrant. You don't have to let them in, and just lock your door, get about your day. But know you're under investigation. You need to call a lawyer, call my office, call another lawyer. You need to have a lawyer. The police are coming after you. They're trying to investigate something. There's also situations where, let's say there's a search warrant on the house and there's 3 cars in the driveway. They'll try to go into those cars and search those cars. And if they're not in the warrant, they don't have probable cause to go into those cars. They don't have the judge's affidavit with the signed search warrant that says those cars with the license plate, make and model. If they don't have access, you don't have to let them go in. Or if they do go in anyways, you don't have to consent. And you should record this too when the police are there. And you need to tell them, no, you can't go in my vehicle. But if you do, if you're there, you do need to film it. It's one of those things. It's kind of like, why would I film it? Maybe they won't let me. Maybe I have security cameras. Maybe this. Do it. Have everything. Get yourself out there and film anything you can. They're going to take any single inch and take a mile out of it and use it to bring charges against you, which is why I'm here, why I'm doing this podcast, why I think it's important. A lot of people don't understand. I get hundreds of calls a week about certain situations going all over Chicago, and This is one of them. Is when the search warrants get served on a house, they'll try to get in these vehicles. They'll try to say that anything they find in these vehicles are yours. If it is your vehicle, usually somebody else owns it. They might find a weapon, they might find some drugs, and you need to be protected and know what your rights are.
What should people know about their rights during the search? For example, what can officers look through? Is there anything that's off limits?
It's going to be dictated in the search warrant, which they should have a copy for. They should come to the door, have a copy for you. Should be able to read it. We want to search for this. Okay, you can watch them. They sometimes, if it's weapons or it's a murder case, it's drugs, they might handcuff you. You'll have to sit by there, but they'll go through the whole house and look for anything they can. But anything outside of the scope, so if it's just that address and it's a single unit or it's a single house or it's multiple units, it has to be specific, right? You can see how they can't just say everything in this building, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you're going to run into problems, but it should tell you anything you can do to protect yourself is what I brought up earlier, and that's going to be setting up security footage. And there's kind of a caveat with that. If you get security footage in your house, you can get $30 cameras all over the house, but make sure if they're downloading onto like a single hard drive that you back that up on the cloud, because I've had 2 or 3 clients just recently back theirs up on the cloud and it saved them. It put them in a better position because they were able to see that the police actually entered the house before the time of the search warrant. Imagine that. So they've already conducted a search prior to the search warrant even being executed, and we have the timestamps on the video, but they also took the hard drive, so we weren't even able to get access to that, but the client had it up on the cloud, pulled it off their phone, sent it to me while the police were basically there, and we're having these issues. So it was something that we're able to clear up in the best way possible for the client.
Wow, that's crazy that they took the hard drive too. Maybe hoping that
you don't think about that, right? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like, well, I got it all here, but they come in and they see the cameras, they start tearing them down because they don't want you to record what they're doing in case they're doing anything questionable, and they're trying to pretty much dictate the narrative in your charges. So you need to have your own narrative, and this helps build it. Having security footage is fantastic for these types of situations. It's really important too, is what they're going to try to do when they go through the house is proof of residency. So anything that they find in the house that has, like, let's say it's your wallet or mail or anything else, if you don't live there, there shouldn't be mail there with your name on it, or you shouldn't be sending things there because they're going to try to say you live there. And that's also something that comes up more than you think.
What are some of the mistakes that people might make in the heat of the moment that could hurt their defense later? Like, or maybe a better way to ask this is, while the search is going on, assuming they've got the search warrant in front of them, they see it's a legit search. What should they do while the police are searching their home?
Right. Like, well, these are some easy ones. Like, big mistakes are people start getting angry and violent, and worst of all, verbal. They start saying things that you're under investigations. Do not say anything to the police. Honestly, do not. They have body worn cams. They're recording this whole situation. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You need a lawyer. Best thing to do, call your lawyer at the time. Go somewhere safe, distance away from there. Hopefully you have a video camera backing up everything that you can, and contact your attorney. That's going to be the move here.
Once the stuff is taken by the officers, phones, cash, computers, guns, whatever you happen to have in there, what happens to that property? Does it get logged at the police station? I feel like I'm referencing movies here, but is that kind of how it happens, how it works?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of some good search warrant movies, but yeah, they have to do a complete inventory. They have to document everything they find. They have to give that to you in discovery, it can be very helpful, but they'll go through phones, money, any type of currency, weapons, different types of jewelry, anything of any value, because they're also trying to come and get your assets and anything you have. If there's gifts or certain things, if you have a safe, there's protected documents, all those things, you should already know what's in your house, but the police are going to then give you an inventory of what they're going to use as evidence against you in any criminal charges.
If they damage anything of yours, or maybe even they might take something that has nothing to do with the case, do you have any legal resource as a homeowner afterwards?
Yeah, there are some interesting remedies that you can use. A couple cases that come to mind was the sheriff's department that seized a large majority of plants that somebody was growing with a license, and they didn't take care of those plants while they were being held in jail. So they didn't water them or take care of any of these marijuana plants, and so they died. Well, it was a substantial amount of plants, and they actually were able to sue to get money damages back for them not taking care of the plant. So if you can imagine, like now, if they seize plants, like you got a share of water in them for you, giving them fertilizer, but it's that ridiculous where those types of damages, they break your phone, they break your door, anything that you don't consent to and that they damage. That's why you're able to get that money back. But that's why we want you to videotape everything because they can show them damaging it. There's certain claim processes to go through, but ultimately there's bigger fish to fry in the situation if there's an investigation going on. But it happens to landowners all the time. If you're renting an apartment or somebody else is there under a different lease and they get searched, that's where it gets complicated, where things get damaged and they'll rip apart walls, pull down anything you can imagine. It's wild.
Wow. So from a defense standpoint, what are you looking for when you review how that raid was conducted?
Well, Kev, if you remember, like at the beginning, I said the detective goes in, talks to the judge, has his affidavit. That's the first thing I'm looking for in discovery. I want to see the search warrant. I want to see what they are alleging happened and what they told the judge in writing. And that's where we start. So they should have a little bit of a couple paragraphs about how long the detective's been a detective and his training and his experience. And then they'll get to the nitty gritty. Was there a confidential informant that purchased drugs at this house? Or was there a murder and they're investigating you and they see that you just went to this house? That was a case I just had where even if it's not your house, someone actually was on a electronic monitoring. They had a GPS band. They were traveling. They supposedly committed a murder, then ran through my client's yard. That's it. And they're trying to pinpoint the GPS as to him being in the house. And that's what's at issue with that one. Because they're trying to say, oh, we had to check this house because there was a murder investigation. There might be weapons there, might be ammo, something about the crime. Judge is like, sure. And they showed him a map photo just of the GPS kind of right there and made it blurry. It's kind of hard to see. So the judge doesn't know any better, looks at it. We get it in discovery months later going, wait a minute, they weren't even in the house. What do you mean? And when this guy doesn't even know this person, he just is at the house. So they basically got a bogus warrant, and we're fighting that right now. It's an absolute wild situation. You run into it with civil forfeiture cases too, not just murder cases where they're trying to take money or they're investigating something else and then they find a bunch of money in the house, and then you're gonna need a lawyer to claim that money. It's important. So it kind of, all these cases cover a lot of different bases, but the search warrant, how they get it, what they're doing, we start attacking it right at that affidavit. And in Illinois, they have this thing called the Franks hearing, where you're actually allowed to have a special hearing with the judge to say that this search warrant affidavit is bogus, and here's why. And there's a Chambers case that came out that just absolutely expanded. It used to be very difficult to challenge a search warrant, but there were so many corrupt cops in Illinois, or a couple bad ones, that they passed this case under Chambers because they wouldn't even allow a judge to review that affidavit. And they did. They passed this, and you're able to do it now. And it's really, really quite to your advantage to be in that situation. But the affidavit's what counts. That's what we go after. That's the most important thing for us to start with. But it's really something you gotta understand. That whole Fourth Amendment comes down to whether or not the police can go and search you without a warrant, right? And so they have to have an affidavit that a judge signs off on. And that's why we concentrate on that first. First I talk to the clients. The clients usually, they're the best. They have the best information. So I talk to them first, and then let's see what's in the affidavit, what they're alleging. And, there's a lot of search warrants with confidential informants, a lot of situations on social media that they use against you. So we try to dig up everything on social media with an investigator and build our narrative. That's the most important part.
Is there a time limit that they have on these? Does it depend on the situation?
Yeah, it's about a 48-hour turnaround. They're usually ready and ramped up. I haven't seen any that go past a day unless it's a weird situation where they've applied to it. But it does happen. There is laws on it. It's usually 48 hours to a week, depending on the jurisdiction in the state. If it's Fed, what agency is doing the search warrants. There's a lot of different situations that come up. But Illinois specifically, it's around 48 to 72 hours that they have to serve these search warrants.
But how? I guess my point of my question was, how long can they be in your home?
As long as it takes, really.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're not going to be in there too long, but if they're able to find what they need, usually, I would say it'd be a couple hours to a day. A lot of times they just take 3 to 4 hours, but there's no set time in it.
Okay, there's no set time, so it's basically just they probably know what they're looking for, right? Like they
Yeah.
know where to look, pretty much.
Yeah, we heard there's an AK-47 under a couch. There's scales or there's something that's readily available, and that's why you shouldn't have stuff just laying out in your house like that, anyways. But people make mistakes and aren't aware of these investigations, and they get in trouble. So hopefully these videos can educate them and they can make the right choices with it. But you run into it, and before you know it, they're at your house and there's stuff laying out, and they kind of know. But they're not, like, once they leave and that expires, they're not going to be coming back. But they could get another search warrant, but you could already be locked up or detained and have other issues going on altogether. But usually once they come in 2-3 hours, unless they find a body or something that you could imagine they would.
Yeah, that would be a little different. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're digging up bodies in the yard, they're going to be there a couple of days.
That might be a little bit longer. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Get comfortable. They're going to be here for a bit. So at what point then can someone call a lawyer right away? Can someone call you as soon as the police come in their house, or do they have to kind of go through the process and then come to you later?
No, they should get on the phone with somebody immediately. I have a 24-hour call center. You can get a hold of our office. We're available. We can get out there and help. I mean, as soon as you get a lawyer involved, the better.
Yeah.
For just protecting your rights and, building your narrative, which is so important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for listening to Not Guilty: Lawyers, Guns, and Money with Edward D. Johnson III of Edward Johnson and Associates PC. To learn more about defending your rights and protecting your property, visit edwardjohnsonlaw.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. We very much appreciate having you here. Edward, it's always interesting talking to you. You've got great stories, and I really appreciate all the information.
Likewise. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.